For over 100,000 years, humanity avoided the deep, but was it just fear or memory? Imagine this. You're standing on the edge of a lake, so still, it looks like obsidian glass, not a ripple, not a sound. Behind you, the forest pulses with life. But in front of you, only silence. And if you were an ancient human, you wouldn't step forward, you'd freeze. Because the water beautiful, dark, and bottomless wasn't just water. It was a doorway to something cold, something watching, something waiting. For tens of thousands of years, early humans feared the water with a kind of dread that wasn't just practical, it was deeply spiritual. This wasn't about swimming skills or bad weather. This was about something older, darker. A fear that echoed from the icy shores of glacial lakes to the foggy coastlines of forgotten continents. Why? Why would beings as brave and resourceful as our ancestors who hunted mammoths, who fought lions, be afraid of the water? To find the answer, we have to go back, way back, to a time when ice ruled the earth and monsters may have lurked beneath it. Long before Poseidon or Leviathan, before mermaids or sirens, there was a simple truth carved into human behavior. We stayed away from deep water. Anthropologists studying ancient settlements found something odd. Even when fresh water was abundant, humans often avoided building too close to lakes, rivers, or icy shores. Caves were preferred. High ground, safe places with walls. And oral traditions across continents passed down by hunter-gatherers from the Arctic to the Amazon warned of one thing: never trust still water. Why? Because it wasn't still. Not really. It whispered, it pulled, and sometimes it took. This universal warning, this instinctive fear, has puzzled scientists for decades. Was it rational, or was it remembered? Now, step into the late Pleistocene. About 40,000 years ago, the Earth is gripped by a brutal ice age. Glaciers stretch across continents like the fingers of some frozen god. Entire ecosystems are trapped beneath the weight of ice. And beneath that ice? Water. Vast, hidden lakes, subglacial rivers, caverns of black, freezing water that never see the sun. And in these dark, cold pockets of the planet, something stirred. Some paleoclimatologists believe that sudden glacial collapses caused massive, unexplained floods that wiped out entire tribes overnight. Water erupting from the ice, without warning, rivers changing direction, lakes forming and vanishing within hours. To early humans, it was chaos, death with no warning, a monster that didn't growl or charge, just swallowed. And what do humans do with terror? We encode it in stories, in symbols, in avoidance, in myth. Imagine the terror of losing someone to water and never finding the body. To ancient humans, disappearance without explanation was the ultimate horror. Land predators left tracks, blood, bones. But when the water took someone, it left nothing. One moment, your kin is beside you. The next, they vanish into a dark surface, and the silence that follows is eternal. No final cries, no struggle, just stillness. Ancient languages had no separate word for drowning, only phrases that implied being taken or swallowed. In early Proto-Indo-European dialects, the word for lake is related to devour. In some Siberian cultures, lakes were seen as living entities, capable of hunger. This idea repeated again and again. Water didn't just kill, it took. And the colder the water, the crueler the taking. So humanity stepped back from the shore, not from weakness, but from a memory carved in ice and silence. If the water could take you, it must be alive. That was the logic of many ancient belief systems, and over millennia, the idea grew teeth. Monsters were born. From Norse Jörmungandr, world serpent curled beneath ocean stow, the Inuit Qalupalik, a cold water creature that snatches children who stray too close to the ice. In Slavic lore, Rusalka spirits haunted lakes, dragging swimmers down with icy fingers. These weren't just stories told around campfires. They were warnings encoded in culture, stretching across thousands of miles and hundreds of generations. What's fascinating is that even isolated tribes who had never met shared similar myths: serpent-like beings, hidden cold spirits, vanishing victims. Coincidence? Or did they all remember something real? You don't need myths to find monsters, just follow the bones. In 2007, beneath the ice shelves of Antarctica, scientists discovered the fossils of Kronosaurusa, 33-foot-long marine reptile with jaws built for crushing. In other parts of the world, remains of Pliosaurus, Mosasaurus, and other apex aquatic predators suggest a time when the sea sand, even inland lakes, were hunting grounds. Now imagine early humans encountering these remains, their bones protruding from melted glacial banks like spears. Imagine a skull the size of a canoe, teeth like daggers, and no explanation. To the human mind, especially one surrounded by spiritual belief, these fossils weren't relics. They were evidence of something that still lived. To fear the water was to be wise. Now picture this: a small band of humans trekking across a frozen land bridge, somewhere near what we now call the Bering Strait. The wind is razor sharp, the sea frozen into slabs. They seek new lands, but they stop. Why? Because the ice beneath them makes a sound. A groan, a cracking, a voice, not human, but alive. The Inuit have a word for this: sila. It means not just weather, but consciousness, the presence in the cold, the watcher beneath. We think of the ice as silent, but ancient people heard it sing, moan, and breathe. These sound screaks, echoes, sudden booms may have been interpreted not as nature, but as the voice of the creature below. The ice was not protection. It was a crust barely sealing the mouth of something older. The fear wasn't irrational. To them, it was survival. Across the northern tundra, ancient humans discovered strange places deep, narrow holes in frozen ground, perfectly shaped, deep, unnatural. Some, when uncovered, led to caves full of water. Others seemed bottomless, swallowing torches whole. No echo, no end. In Siberian folklore, these were dragon mouths, leading to the underworld. In Scandinavian tales, nixies lived inside, waiting to lure the curious down with haunting music. Modern science now knows that methane explosions and permafrost shifts can create these strange pits. But imagine encountering them without instruments, without explanation, just raw experience and inherited caution. The message passed down wasn't about geology. It was simple. Don't go near the hole. Don't follow the sound. Don't look down. In prehistoric Europe, certain cave paintings deep in systems like Lascaux or Chauvet feature creatures not found on land. Long, sinuous bodies, multiple fins, even eyes drawn disproportionately large. Some dismiss these as stylized deer or imagined animals. But other anthropologists working with indigenous traditions suggest they may be ancient visual memories of creatures glimpsed in water or under thin ice, or dreamt of. Because water in many cultures was more than a danger. It was a portal, a mirror between worlds, between the known and the unknowable, between life and death, between surface and deep. And when the surface broke, something from the deep could cross through. Let's pause. Step back from bones, myths, and icy echoes. Science tells us that fear can be learned. But what if some fears are inherited? Recent research in epigenetics suggests that trauma, especially repeated intense trauma, can leave marks not just on memory, but on DNA expression. In other words, your ancestors' terror may live inside you. If a population endured generations of horror connected to deep water floods, drownings, vanishings, that fear could echo in the limbic systems of their descendants. Why do so many people, today people who've never been near a lake, feel sudden panic in open water? Why do toddlers, never taught to be afraid, instinctively avoid the deep end? Maybe the stories aren't just cultural. Maybe they're biological alarm siren song, not from the water, but from within us. From Papua New Guinea to the Arctic Circle, stories repeat. In Japan, the Funayure, drowned souls who haunt sea travelers. In the Congo, legends of the Mokele Mbembe, a serpent said to live in deep, dark rivers. Among the Maori, Taniwha, terrifying beings who guard watery places. Different languages, different climates, same fear. Some historians claim it's simply coincidence, a storytelling archetype. But what if it's not? What if, instead, there was a common origin eventa prehistoric trauma so widespread that it fractured into thousands of cultural memories? Massive post-glacial floods, perhaps, or an extinction-level event involving water. Or something worse, something alive, something that once hunted across continents, under the ice, through channels now lost. And we, the survivors, passed the fear forward like a torch in the dark. Now fast forward. Climate change is melting ancient ice that has remained sealed for 10,000 years or more. And as it melts, strange things emerge. Microbes unseen since mammoth days. Fossils of aquatic predators, far inland from where oceans should be. And in one eerie case, an entire frozen lake in Siberia releasing bubbles that ignite a reminder that the Earth is not dead, only sleeping. What else lies beneath? What if the fear our ancestors felt wasn't superstition but first-hand survival? What if something they saw, long ago, is slowly coming back into the light? The past isn't frozen, it's thawing, and with it, our darkest memories rise again. Across every civilization, there are certain truths we whisper but never say out loud. Here's one of them. What if ancient humans feared water not just because it killed, but because it hunted? A theory, controversial and often dismissed, has gained traction among fringe anthropologists and ancient myth scholars that during the Ice Age, there may have existed a predator intelligent or instinct-driven that used water as its hunting ground. Not like a shark, not a crocodile, something different. Something that followed migrations, that learned patterns, that waited in silence, and when the ice melted, it disappeared either extinct or retreating further beneath. Every culture's monster serpents, spirits, water demons could be residual memory of a real, now vanished species. Even the very word monster stems from the Latin monere, to warn. What if the monsters weren't fiction? What if they were warnings? Today, we stand at a strange mirror of the past. The poles are melting, ice shelves crack like thunder, lakes appear in the high Arctic. And as explorers push further into uncharted subglacial caves and ancient oceans, we realize we've mapped less of the deep Earth than the surface of Mars. We don't know what still sleeps below, or waits. And deep in the Mariana Trench, hydrophones sometimes record sounds no animal can be matched to. Clicks, screams, booms like something immense turning in the dark. We say it's thermal shifts, geological events. But those same frequencies, those same shapes of sound match ancient ceremonial instruments used by water-worshipping cultures, not to summon something, to appease it. So what are we really afraid of? Not water, not drowning. We fear the feeling of being watched from beneath, the sense, irrational but undeniable, that something is near, something that remembers us. We carry this fear in our blood, our myths, our instincts. It shaped the gods we created, the monsters we feared, the songs we sang to children before bed. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't a myth. Maybe it was a message from the first of us to survive and whisper, "Stay away from the deep, we were not alone." Because the truth, the one carved in frozen bones, remembered in dreams, and echoed across civilizations is simple. Ancient humans feared the water, because something was beneath the ice. If this story sent chills down your spine, Imagine what else is still hidden beneath the surface of our past. Subscribe to Prehistoric Shadows, where forgotten worlds, ancient fears, and forbidden truths rise again from the dark. Hit the bell, because the next mystery might already be watching you.